All right, everybody, welcome back to the Spread the Positive podcast. I am your host, Trent Denson. Got a super special guest with us, a returning guest, a familiar voice and face of all things Spread the Positive, and just an all around example of everything I would consider going right. This is my guy, Greg Pihs. How are you, sir?
Doing good. I appreciate being back on there. I'm super excited.
Me too, man. Greg has an amazing story. Truly an overcomer, a survivor, and just a beast of a human being, man. It's always a pleasure to have you in here, learn from you, just hear that greatness that you're pushing to the masses so beautifully these days, and for since I've known you, which has been what, 4 or 5 years
Four or
now.
5 years, right around there. Yeah,
Man,
yeah, yeah.
flies, man. Time flies. But
Yeah.
Greg, talk to us. Give us a little overview of who you are, and then we'll kind of get into some of the newer stuff that you're doing, which is
Yeah.
super exciting. And again, just a great example of what's going right, and that's what we do around here. So take it away, my friend.
Beautiful. Yeah, yeah. We'll get everyone up to speed for those that didn't get to hear. We did an episode together about 4 years
Yeah,
ago.
that first one. Never
Um,
forget that one.
and so yeah, we'll get everyone up to speed on that. I appreciate being on here. I appreciate your platform and what you do. I heard someone say the other day about well, nonetheless, it's the world's a crazy place. Life's in session, and the energy that you bring out, being a platform, allowing me to share here today, is the light that counterbalances
Hey,
that
let's
craziness that
go.
is life. And so, thank you. I'm glad to be here today.
Absolutely.
Everyone that's listening in, just a little bit around background and overcoming. I'm thankful to be here today, and I'm blessed. I've had many of exceptional mentors just in and out of my life and opportunities, and blessed to have had the vision to see the opportunities that I did see.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of overcoming, for those listening in, getting to hear the story the first time, my biological mother died of cancer when I was 3 years old, and then my stepmother was a friend of my mother's father, over the road truck driver. So this friend, let's use air quotes for those that are listening in, uh, pretty seamlessly like enters the house. She had a daughter of her own, which I always looked at as my sister, and so she came in to take care of us. But she didn't take care of us. She was abusive, very very abusive. Just really graphic, physical, psychological abuse. When we talk about psychological abuse, as a literal example, I don't remember what age, but I would have been before I was 10 years old. She had me take a pocket knife to school in my backpack, and then had my older brother tell on me that I was going to attack someone. And we had to play this out, because if not, we risked pretty severe physical torture when we got home.
Jeez.
And then through playing this out, if we would try to tell someone that we were getting abused at home, she would say, "Oh my gosh, they're just looking for attention. He took a knife to school last week. I'm just their stepmother. I'm doing the best I can."
Mm.
And she had everybody duped. I mean, she
Yeah.
really did. I mean, she kept the show rolling day after day. And when I was 7 years old, I witnessed her kill my 5-year-old brother.
Jesus.
She picked him up by his ankles and dropped him on his head on the concrete, which severed his brainstem. His heart kept beating. My father had to pull the plug on him, on my little brother, maybe a day or two later. And she said he fell off the pool deck and threatened myself and my older brother to say any different. And so we didn't say any different. I mean, we were well aware of what she was capable of. We
Mm.
were there firsthand. And so my older brother ran away when he was 2 years older than me. Ran away when he was about 10 years old, and I don't really. I'm not sure. Maybe I was afraid, but it took me about 2 years, and then I followed in his footsteps. So when I was about 10 years old, I ran away. And the first time I ran away, I I didn't really. I wasn't a good runawayer. I didn't know how to
I mean,
do it.
you're
I was
10
like
years
10 years
old,
old.
bro. Come on, man. That's crazy.
So I was like walking, just like walking in the middle of the day, just like walking down the streets. And I remember the cops like pulled up, and they're like, "What's your name?" And I was like, I gave him some weird. I was like, Trent Denson, and they they didn't believe me. No, but I gave him some fake name, and they're like, "No, no," brought me the PlayStation, and I will never forget. I had this teacher, Miss Cunningham, and she would always she would pull me aside and she would just speak. She would do what you're doing in the
Mm.
world to me. She would just
Wow.
speak love and light into me. And she would say, she would tell me, I know what's going on. I know it. She's like, it's not right. And she would say, you have to say something in order for me to be able to help you. Because I wouldn't tell no one nothing. Like, I knew, but like, death was a possibility.
That's wild.
But she would always tell me, like, you have to say something. But when you say it, it's over. Like, we'll take care of it from there, blah, blah, blah. And so I was sitting in that police station, and she was my teacher still. It was still in that time frame. And sitting at that police station, and the police asked me, like, why did I run away? And, like, man, I mustered, like, everything I owned in courage to tell. I was like, this is it, man. Like, I just kept hearing what Miss Cunningham said, and I'm like, this is it. Like, we're done at this. Like, I'm telling. And so I told him, I was like, my stepmother's abusing us at home. She's beating us. And he walked out, and I don't really know the depths of what happened. I'm only about 10 years old, but what I do know is she came back in and sat down next to me, and he said that he's getting beat at home. And she gave her a little pitch about how they do that all the time for attention. I'm doing the best I can. And they sent me back home with her.
Oh my gosh.
They did. Again, like the details of, I mean, especially with all the trauma, like I just know that I did go back home. And she beat me aggressively, and she said, if you ever run away again, you better never come back. And I ran away one single more time, and that was it, and made sure I never went back.
Man.
So through that detention centers, I was in detention centers from about the age of like maybe 11, 12 to 17. Joined the Marine Corps from a group home at 17 as infantry. Now, mind you, at the time I was a perfect candidate to be Marine Corps infantry. I was absolutely. I remember when the recruiter spoke to me about it and said, "Hey, do you want to do this?" My thought was, if you can get me in, then we're doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, I probably said those words to him. I didn't even think that, like, I thought, like, these, especially Marines, but, like, military, I'm like, these people are like, I'm not them. Like, you must got me fooled.
Right,
But
right.
you must have mistaken me. But, like, sure, if you want to say I can go over there. And I really, at the time, I didn't really realize how far I'm not sure what labels I want to use, but how far away my mind had gotten from where I would like to have been.
I mean, that's just that's a defense mechanism, right? I mean, obviously, there has to be.
Yeah. Defense, trauma responses,
Yeah.
and we were talking about, ultimately, really, and whoever, for everyone listening, reject this if you don't want it. But I'm going to suggest we all got trauma.
Yeah.
And we all got our defense mechanisms, and we all have our trauma responses. And really, you started the NLP thing with really what I'm into today is really helping people create that awareness. Like, I know when we say this, we'll say, oh, yeah, but when we really start breaking down all the layers of it, we create our problems.
Mm.
Every single problem that we have is unique to us. It requires us, or we wouldn't even have it.
Wow. Yeah.
And so we really start going in and figuring out, like, well, how do we have that problem, and how are we able to create it? And usually what we'll find out is we're at an unconscious level filling a need, sometimes even at an inappropriate level, that wasn't filled probably in our childhood.
Right. That's super accurate. Yeah.
So be it safety, like a lot of times the scarcity mindset is like, save everything, we're going to lose it all.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, while you're looking at this pile, we can't grow the pile.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and it's tough. It's tough because it's at an unconscious level.
Yes.
Based on all the things we had. And for everyone listening, like, first of all, people have crazier stories than me in actuality. The thing is, none of us are in comparison. And I really like creating the awareness for people. It's all relative.
Yes.
The person that was bullied in middle school went through the same trauma that I went through, and people have said and say, no. Hey, look, I guess that's subjective then, because that's my opinion.
Right.
Like, they can't tell the difference, so it equaled the same weight.
Wow.
And all the same, I mean, like, even with what a majority of my trauma, well, okay, I was going to say a majority of my trauma is physical. I don't know if that's actually fair because of the psychological side of things, but that's what I would share is, like, I don't feel hurt by the physical things that happened, but I can't even remember the pain.
Right.
I could care less. But the psychological aspect of not having mom and dad's love,
Mm.
or not feeling worthy, or feeling less than, or feeling like I needed to do something so I wouldn't be abused. Those are the things that haunt me to this day. Like, I realize even through all the self-discovery that I've been through, I realize how often I do actions to try to create worth, my personal worth.
Wow. That's deep.
Yeah.
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 So let's talk about some of those.
Let's
Let's talk about
let's
some
dive
of
in.
those steps. You know, I mean I mean that's the good part of this, right? Like
Yeah,
that's the victory in this
it is.
the whole thing. So when I first met you, I know you were doing a lot of stuff in, you know, personal development and growth and just healing trauma, all this stuff, but I feel like you've really amped that up. Like so can you talk about just kind of that progression? Yeah, just I mean, I don't even really know how else to
Yeah.
ask that. Just talk about like when I first met you, I knew you were all about the I don't even want to call it like personal, or I guess it is self-development and just being the best version of yourself,
Yeah. Yeah.
obviously, which was I mean just an amazing thing that you had already kind of started that journey, but then I've just been watching you, man, for the past couple years, man, and it's different. It's
Yeah.
a whole new level, and the way you're helping people that I'm friends with and people that I'm, you know, familiar with, and you know, it's just like them talking about how profound this work you're doing is something we need more of. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
the NLP stuff, man. Let's get into that.
Yeah, yeah, let's dive in. So when we first met, so everyone listening, we'll dive, like, what is NLP? We'll talk a little bit about that. Neuro-linguistic programming is what we're talking about. If you Google it, you also might come up with natural language processing, which is how we're teaching AI to speak more like us. Another
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah. That's all.
So neuro-linguistic program, we talk about NLP. So NLP, that journey starts about 2.5 years ago for me, roughly speaking, maybe three. And before that, I mean, just a burning passion to serve and help others. I didn't want other people to have to, but just really reckless with that passion. I mean, I'm glad it was a beautiful chapter. When I say reckless, I mean that in such a positive
Yeah, I
way,
was about to say that's a beautiful,
such a positive way to
that's a
put it.
great way
Yeah,
to be reckless. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And no clue what I was doing, but like I'm gonna smile and say some positive stuff.
that's it.
Yeah,
That's it. And that's
yeah.
so powerful.
It is.
S-
It is. It's what allowed me to get to be here.
Yeah.
And then so NLP. So we find that. And I get asked a lot, how do we even find out about NLP? Well, what is NLP? Let's even try to go into what is NLP, which is a really, I'm going to suggest NLP is a fairly esoteric subject and a very, very deep subject. To put it in one sentence, which just isn't fair for it, and let's do it,
Let's
I
do
would
it.
say it's the study of it's the study of human algorithm, like the study of how the mind works on how we form decisions and how we communicate.
Mm,
How we form decisions and how we communicate. Our words only make up 7% of our communication,
wow.
and our words are very powerful.
Mm,
You know, we hear all the time, it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
mm,
Our words are very powerful, very powerful. Oh shit, and there's 93% more communication left after the words.
wow.
Even this is body language,
Right.
and I was communicating.
Yeah.
If body language is 55%, tonality is 38%, and that brings up that whole thing. And then how we form decisions. Whether we have a scarcity mindset or an abundance mindset, whether we find problems or whether we find solutions, what I've found is, for me, when we understand why we're doing that, we can choose to make a different decision and do it differently consciously.
Mm, that's it.
99% of what we're doing is being done at an unconscious level. And some people might be like, I don't know. Well, tell me about the last time you consciously beat your heart or filtered the water in your liver or your kidneys.
Right.
Like, there's like
So,
99, like, it's barbaric. Like, what we know, like, because we see it in front of us, we're like, this is real. No, it's very real. It's just a little spot of the whole picture.
wow.
So, yeah, okay. All right. How did I learn about NLP? I actually overheard. I was in like I don't even remember where I was at. Maybe like a restaurant or something. And there happened to be a man and a woman, and I don't know them. and the woman was asking the man for advice, and she asked him a question, and I don't remember the words, but he asked her a question back, and I kind of overheard, but when I like what he said, like made me go like,
Wow.
and then she was like, and it was a very powerful question. I mean, it was a very powerful, like, what? And so she asked him, like, how did you know to ask that question? And I'm like,
Yeah, right.
and he made it like real nonchalant. He's like, well, I'm an NLP trainer. And she's like, oh, I really want to learn NLP. That stuff's very powerful. I've never heard of NLP, so I go home and I'm like,
Google. Yeah, right.
which, by the way, if you Google, you read some pretty crazy stuff.
I bet.
So I did my own little Google search, come up with all the weird stuff I come up with, and I just started researching it more. And all I can share to everyone, I know no one that's ever done NLP. I've never heard of NLP. No one said I should do NLP. No one sold me NLP. I'm sitting in my house, I do my research, and I feel called, and I'm like, I'm doing this.
Nice.
And that's it.
Wow.
I researched companies, and the company I went with is one of, it's not the single, but one of the oldest companies that have been teaching this. So I felt good because
let's go with the OG, right?
yeah, I mean, because the gurus are a dime a dozen. So,
Right.
So I did my research, found a company that I liked, and I went the first thing. So NLP has levels.
Mhm.
And at the first level, you don't have to drink the Kool-Aid, but no, I'm kidding.
Yeah, right. I feel it.
No, it does have levels. So no part of NLP is network marketing or anything of that nature.
Right.
Anyone that does NLP is their own entity. There's never dues paid back to anything.
Got you.
Okay. But there is levels because of the depth of the information. So there's a practitioner level, a master practitioner level, there's a trainer level, and then there's a master trainer level.
Wow.
All right. Each one has to be done to get to the next one. You don't have to do anything. It's a matter of if you're like, I'm digging this information and I want more.
There you go.
All right. So I go to the first time. It's practitioner level. It happens to be in Orlando, and I think it was 9 days.
Wow.
And the ticket was like maybe about $5,000, and then I needed Airbnb, flight, rental car, food while I was down there. So at this time, this is the most I have ever invested in self-development.
Yeah.
The single most.
Yeah.
And so I go down there. Now, mind you, before this, I am very brass tacks in nature.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I believe in positive, but at the same time, like, I'm not about
Delusional. Yeah, right.
I was very well. And the first episode I talk about toxic positivity.
You did. I remember that.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'm fairly like, I come from this like fairly brass tacks mindset, like it's show me or it's not real type
Right.
thing.
Fair enough though. I mean,
So I go to this thing 9 days, and I'm like 3 days in, and they're talking about imagining stuff. And I was so mad. I wanted to cry. I felt like I got duped so bad.
really?
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Day 3.
Maybe even day 2.
Right. Okay.
I called my wife. Like, I wanted to cry because I felt like these people scammed me, like just wholeheartedly just scammed me.
Really?
I wanted to cry.
Oh my gosh.
And I told my wife, I was like, they're telling me to imagine stuff, babe.
That's good. Yeah.
I was so mad. I was ready to come home. I was like, I was ready to come home.
Right.
I mean, they're telling me things like I have a problem because I'm maintaining my problem. And I don't want to hear that. It's not me.
Don't be accurate.
Don't be accurate.
Don't attack me with with your honesty.
I really was really like, so you're telling me it's my problem. I'm thinking like at this time I'm still living a little bit in this victim mentality. I'm like, but what happened in childhood? That wasn't I didn't do that, And so I was a little bit disgruntled.
Yeah.
And my wife said to me, she said, she said, I don't know. She said, I don't know why, but there's a reason why you went here and did this.
Right.
Like, of all the things you could have done, no one convinced you.
Right.
You chose this pretty hardcore. You called the company.
Right.
They never called you.
Right.
So she says, I don't know. Maybe you hang out. What I mean? And so I got off the phone and I thought to myself, definitely like, well, I mean, it was a lot that went through my mind, but what I came to as a conclusion.
Yep,
As a
that's it.
conclusion.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. I thought to myself, because they were telling us, they were talking about imagining stuff and like processing trauma in your imagination.
Yeah.
And I committed that night in the hotel. I was like, I'm going to go on all in. Like, I'll imagine, I'll do everything they say. And if it works, like, but like to myself, I committed, like not even to my wife. Like I got
Right.
off the phone and I'm doing it. Like if they say, imagine turkeys are chasing me, I got it. Turkeys are chasing.
Right.
And so I was like, then at the end, if it works, it has to work because I'll do it.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, you know, I was like, I'm outing these people to everybody. Like
Yeah.
everybody's going to know that they want people to imagine for
Right.
Okay.
See how that went.
So,
I got one question.
Yep. Ask it.
You're a believer, right?
Yeah, I am 100%.
Yeah, okay. So is this was that like a
Ask it. Go ahead.
yeah, was this was
Very
this like
comfortable.
prayer time, or like is this like you're saying that you keep saying like I'm saying this to myself. Is this like are you praying? Like is there like a spiritual aspect to this, or is this you having your black and white moment where you're like I need something concrete? Does that make sense? Is that a
Oh
weird
yeah,
que-
please, and
yeah,
ask all the questions.
yeah.
So as far as very, very, very spiritual,
Okay.
I
Feel like it would be.
personally am non-religious.
Okay.
I personally am non-religious. So
Okay.
so then I don't identify inside of a religion. And I believe in God, and I talk to God.
Okay.
And when I talk to God, it is praying, and
Okay.
when I listen to God, I'm meditating.
Right. Okay.
And then as far as fitting inside of, I again non-religious myself.
Cool.
And so with that, I do believe in without going into religion, I believe in a higher power, and I do even when I'm speaking to myself, I am speaking to my higher
Okay.
power.
Sorry, I love that.
Please do, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
yeah. And I'm personally, I feel, you know, which was a lot. I had a lot of weird energy around religion. Probably a year after I started NLP,
Okay.
I didn't know how to process a lot of it, and I feel, you know, I've been through. I have plenty more to learn and such,
Sure.
but I feel so congruent now
That's amazing.
with my spirituality.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just share that.
Cool. That's a
Yeah,
selfish sidebar for myself, so thank you for that.
yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, get on that practitioner level, and came back, and so I went through for myself just to process my own. And they break down in NLP at the practitioner level. You start learning about all the things that, well, I instead of saying you, I learned
Right.
about all the things that I was unconscious of.
Yep.
And once they became conscious, you know, the saying, once you see it, you can't unsee it. I realized how many ways I was causing everything that was going on in my life.
Wow.
I really, like, it was, to say a breakthrough, it was wild.
Yeah.
I mean, it was wild. It was like, holy shit, if I want different, I have to do different. Like, period. Or, and everyone listening, you don't have to do different. You can be happy with what you have. Like right now.
Man.
And if you're like, I'm not happy with it, you're allowed to, as much as you're allowed to be happy with everything you have, you're allowed to not be happy with what you have.
Wow. Man, that's powerful.
You're allowed to make changes. The big thing is going individually, that journey of finding self-love, so you can make these decisions from love.
Dang, that's good.
And from love being like, if someone doesn't get to go into the next chapter, from love is like loving yourself to not just kind of let them in. Loving them enough to be kind enough so that they can come into a future chapter. And protecting this chapter.
Yeah.
And we don't have to burn this down. We don't have to burn a bridge, nor do we have to, like, well, I kind of set some boundaries, but I don't want to not have them in this chapter. You can love yourself and love people enough to not let them be just in this chapter.
Wow. That's good.
It was powerful for me. When I came back, the biggest change that I noticed was in my house, communicating with my wife and communicating with my son. In NLP, there's one of the beliefs, if you choose to adopt it, choose to. Everything is a choice.
Yep.
So if you choose to, and I accepted it, they say in NLP, the meaning of communication is the response you get. So if I say something and my wife says something to me that I don't like, I just evaluate how can I say that to her differently. I don't evaluate how I can change her, because I cannot change her, so the thoughts don't cross my mind. Okay, they do sometimes. If I'm being honest here. If I'm being honest here. But for the main part, it just goes back to me.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, cool, I'll change this. And then she responds different. And I'm like, oh shit, I really have that power.
Right.
I mean,
That's
it just becomes
it's just that
exponential.
it's that extreme ownership, right?
Extreme ownership.
Man, been
Every
trying to really do that myself here lately, and it's helped a lot.
it's and like I live it, and there's plenty that I'm not owning.
Mm.
Like it's just a journey. The more that we own, the more that we I'll use this weird word. The more that we own, the more that we control, and control's an illusion of submitting.
Whoa.
Okay.
Whoa. Whoa. Okay.
So,
Go ahead.
yeah, you're like, let's
Go on.
the more that we own, the more, so control. So if we have a goal or a passion or a dream or a vision or a desire to impact the world in a certain manner, as long as we submit to the journey and stay on the course, we'll just get there and it'll be beautiful the whole way.
Okay.
And because we were willing to submit to the journey and we got there and it was beautiful the whole way, we were able to control that we were going to get there and it was beautiful the whole way. But the control only came from actually submitting.
Mm.
So when we think like, I don't have enough money, if you're willing to submit to that, you also don't need any more money.
Okay.
And it like understanding, like if someone's like, look, I'm $50 short on my bills, another situation.
Right.
But for the people that are like building, and then this month didn't hit the number that I wanted to hit, as long as we're willing to submit to that experience, there's something inside there every time for us to learn or to realize, like maybe it's slow down, maybe it's connect more with family. I can't say what it is for the individual. It's not a guaranteed this means that. But there's something in there every time when we get frustrated based on our expectation of control.
Dang. That's good.
I'll give you an example. I shared this with someone the other day. They said to me, I was asking them, I said, do you feel worthy to speak up, to stand up for yourself? And most people would answer yes to that. And some will actually, okay. But I said, but if you were at like a convention and there was 10 people at the table, like, do you feel worthy enough to stand up and say, I'm going to Jimmy John's, who's going with me? Okay.
Yeah.
Or do you have to say like, who's hungry? Where are we getting lunch?
Oh.
Okay, you're worthy of picking lunch.
Okay.
Now, other people can pick lunch too. They're worthy too. You might say, I'm going to Jimmy John's, who's going with me? And someone says, I'm going to Ruby Tuesdays, and you might say, I'm going. And I'd say, man, you're nasty. But no, I wouldn't say that.
Ruby Tuesdays. It's been a minute since I've heard that.
I love certain little humor. But the point is, like, you may decide to go with someone else. But do you feel worthy enough to realize, like, you don't need someone else to pick your lunch?
Exactly.
And so we're having that conversation, and that person was saying, well, and what they said was, they said, well, in some situations, like they said, if I know something and I've put in the work and I've done the thing, then I feel real comfortable and I'm not taking nothing. Like I'm telling people. They said, but if I haven't, I don't feel worthy enough to speak up.
Mm.
And what I shared with them is, and for everyone listening, I'll make a suggestion. Whatever problem you're facing, there's shadow work for you inside of it.
Wow.
And so what I shared with her was I said, do you realize how when you know something, you're not allowing anyone to say shit because you've put in the work?
Yeah.
So when you're on the other side, your belief is they're not going to let you say shit because they already put in the work.
Ooh, man, that's good.
So if you'll actually, if over here, when you put in the work and you know you're right, if you'll allow yourself to reserve the spot of being wrong still, you'll probably be able to speak over here.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's it. That's all it really comes down to, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Man, that's good stuff. All right, so where are you at with it now? What are you doing? How, like, if people want to know more? I mean, are you the top level or?
No, yeah. So
Okay.
where are we at? So right now I'm a trainer of neurolinguistic programming. So above that is a master trainer. So at the trainer level, I started at my own training academy about 2.5 years ago. So anyone looking to get certified, right now we certify at the practitioner, at the master practitioner level in the modalities of neurolinguistic programming as well as timeline therapy.
Nice.
We didn't talk a lot about timeline therapy today, but it's a modality to help people process and heal trauma using the imagination.
There you go.
Believe that.
Hey, full circle.
Oh
Full
man,
circle moment.
well, here let me give you guys
Yeah,
this
yeah.
real quick. This is what helped me. It was real powerful. Understand, like when someone told me heal trauma and imagination, obviously I wanted to like cry. I thought I got duped.
Right.
What I found out, and it's just been so powerful and so magical, and working with so many people. everyone, all of your trauma, with the exception of if someone is being traumatized right now in the moment, with that exception, all of your trauma exists in your memories.
Mm.
All of your memories exist in your unconscious, and I'll give you evidence. If I asked you to tell me about yesterday, until you pull it into your conscious awareness, you can't tell me about it. But
Right.
once you pull it in your conscious awareness, you can tell me about it. Where'd it come from?
Memory.
The
Oh,
unconscious,
yeah,
the
yeah.
memory. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
All of your trauma exists in your memories. All of your memories exist in your unconscious. If you want to heal your trauma, we got to heal in the unconscious.
Wow.
The unconscious is the imagination.
So the dupage was not so much dupage.
It's powerful. It's so
You
powerful.
are not duped at all.
We're
Huh?
imagining our reality every
Yeah.
single day, period.
Yep.
And then playing it out.
Yep.
And then the realization, like I talk about intent, like I wrote it on my board and set my intent for today and then for this week. Like,
Nice.
what is it that I desire? Because I'll accidentally start playing it out.
There you go.
Okay, so our academy does those certifications, and then we're doing we do those twice a year. We'll do live in-person certifications. We've already done the 2 for 2023, so Q2 2024 will be the next one if someone wants to be live in person. And then we do 6-month one-on-one mentorship programs,
Wow, dude.
and in those programs we do one-on-one certifications.
Okay.
And then we recently, August 18th and 19th will be the first 2-day live retreat that the Academy will host, the first one.
Wow.
We've done 1-day event. We've done 5-day certifications, but this will be the first 2-day intensive retreat. We're hosting it in August 18th and 19th. We're hosting it it's in Jolton, technically.
Okay.
And Holland Hills is the venue. It's like a 200-year-old tobacco farm on about 80
wow.
acres.
Nice.
And we've introduced the modality of firewalking. So August
Didn't you
18th,
Tony Robbins song?
19th.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Firewalking's pretty cool. And in short, and most people probably have heard someone that's a little less esoteric.
Right,
Everybody heard
right.
a little. Firewalking, when I heard about it, I had a friend that said, "Hey, I did this and I got certified as an instructor. You might consider checking it out." I immediately thought, I'm Aries. I don't know, but I just love fire. So I was
Yeah.
like, let's go.
Little pyro.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's really cool because when you walk across when you step up to these hot coals, like everything in your neurology says we can't do this, don't do this. Like, I don't care what they're saying to us, don't be that stupid. Everything in our neurology is like, don't
Sure.
do that.
That's where I go.
And if
I'm not gonna lie.
yeah, I heard this fun fact the other day. Aluminum melts at 1100 degrees, and the coals are 1200 that we walk across.
Perfect.
Yeah, perfect. So that and when you cross, if you choose, to be very candid and clear, anyone that firewalks through our academy will only ever firewalk because they volunteered and chose to walk all the way across. If they get to the last second and decide that they're not firewalking, I will share some words of encouragement with them. But if they still decide they're not firewalking, they're not firewalking.
Cool.
So the beach person that chooses
That sounds
to.
comforting.
We're not going. You're going. But once you get across, oddly enough, this will sound whatever it sounds like. But once you get across, forevermore in your life, you can no longer run the program of fear the same way ever again.
Man.
Never. Fear equaled something before.
Mm.
At an unconscious level, because you said we cannot do this, but your neurology actually said it to you. What does that mean? I mean, you heard it, whatever. Okay. Your body didn't want to take that step. Once you did it, now at an unconscious and neurological level in the future, whether it be business, family, whatever the case may be, and you have that, like, we can't do this thought, you don't do a thing after that. Unconsciously, your neurology will start playing the programming of your personal power.
Wow.
The realization
Man,
that
that's
you are
deep.
capable.
I can see that.
Yeah.
And I think, man, that's something I've struggled with more than anything is just fear. I think we all do.
All of
right?
us,
I mean,
all
I feel
of
like
us.
everybody, scared of success, scared of the pressure that comes with all this stuff, scared of, letting people down, scared of all the things. So, and I've heard I say this all the time anytime I'm on the microphone, it seems like, but it is a spectrum, right? Like, we got fear and doubt, love and acceptance, right? And like, if you're on wherever you are on that spectrum is going to be a direct reflection of your life and where you're at.
Beautiful.
With all the 7 equities of your life, if you will. So like, if you're just hard kicking it over here with the fear and doubt, and everything's bad, and everybody's out to get you or something. You're just waiting around the corner for something to go wrong. That's going to keep happening. What you
Yeah.
focus on will expand. Like all this stuff we know for sure. This stuff isn't that foo-foo woo-woo thing, like getting duped in a conference center. Like this is some factual stuff that we know scientifically, and that's what NLP ultimately comes down to. So I always love to just take that second to, like, I'm talking to myself more than anybody, but just really being conscious of that, and like you said, intentional with that. Like I'm coming from a place of love and acceptance, period. Like if I waver some and I get a little closer to that fear and doubt spectrum, that's okay. Let's just reassess and get back. And like
So well
that's what God, that's all God asks of us, right? If we really break down this whole weird thing we call life, that's all it comes down
It's
to.
pretty
isn't it?
simple. Pretty simple.
If you're coming from a place of love and acceptance, God provides, God's got you, and you're gonna be all right.
I love that when you speaking of love, I suggest that there are absurdly fewer inherent truths than what we assign.
Oh,
Love being one of the inherent truths.
yes.
So Mark Manson, he wrote the Subtle Art of
Yep.
Not Giving an F, which if you haven't read the book, worth it.
So good.
If
That
you-
guy's a genius.
he's so awesome. He's so
good.
smart.
He's so good.
And if you like sentence enhancers by the audio, he drops a bunch of F bombs that are funny. He said in that book, Mark Manson said in 500 years they'll understand truth that we never understood, and they'll still be wrong.
Wow.
So we assign inherent truths to things all the time, or this means, or you have to do that. I mean, if we start backing up, just in the last century, think about some of the truths we realize, like, oops,
Yeah.
women can vote.
Yeah.
Black people are equal to everyone else.
Right.
Slavery is not fair.
Right.
Women are allowed to have jobs.
Yeah.
We don't do genocide to a
race of
whole entire
people.
race
Yeah.
of people.
Yep.
But that's just in the last 100 years. You back up further than that, we played soccer with people's heads.
Yeah.
And
That's
and
pretty
every
wild.
time we were self-validated
Yeah.
through the whole journey.
It's wild.
So like everything that we believe is true today,
probably not. Probably not.
We might learn something about in the future.
Yeah. Right. Oh, man.
Outside of love.
Yeah.
If it's
Well,
an act inside of love, I'm going to suggest it's probably an inherent truth.
I love that. I love that. I love that. See what
I love
man,
it.
That's
Love.
a play on words, man. So much love right now, man. That's so good. And it's just needed. Like we need people to be familiar with this stuff. Like this shouldn't be something we have to seek out, and like it should be. I hate to say that, it's not me dictating or controlling things, right? Don't mean to do that, but just like this is knowledge people need.
Yeah.
And like being like what you're doing, what we're doing right now is critical. Like it's crucial to the fabric of our society. Not to get too weird, but it really is.
Well, and yes, and for the people that suggest like this should be offered to everyone, here it is.
Yeah.
Go share it with someone else.
There you go.
Like our parents were doing the absolute best they could with what they know true at that time. They
Yep.
lived a different lifestyle than us.
Same. Yep.
No one actually is. Well, I'm going to make a suggestion. Okay, fine. We
We're
might
doing it the right. We got to use the right words. Yep.
No one is actually like hoarding this information and
Yeah.
like we're not going to tell it.
Yeah.
to anyone.
Exactly.
We're just not sharing it enough.
That's true.
Share this podcast when
Yeah.
you hear it.
Exactly.
Go tell someone something positive. Like that's what it's about. Like this should be more common for people.
Mhm.
But it's not us against them. It's all of us just sharing it more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just providing the platform, being an opportunity to connect with folks like you. So let's get into that. How can people get involved? Where can people go? You mentioned the 18th and 19th. What can you do outside of that? Do you have just is there any information on your website? Just tell us where we can find your stuff.
You love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my name, Greg at Greg Pihs. Email greg@gregpihs.com or gregpihs.com website.
Yep.
And then we also have gpmindgrowth.com.
That's
So gregpihs.com or gpmindgrowth.com. We'll go to Greg Pihs. We learn a little bit about me. We learned today.
Yep.
GP Mindgrowth is going to take us to the academy, learn a little bit more about neurolinguistic programming. Of course, the opportunity to connect. If you like what you're hearing, if you're looking for more information to stay more connected, shoot me an email, shoot me a Facebook friend request. I'm majority on Facebook. I'm starting to expand out in all these other million platforms that exist. But I have a free group that it's Success After Trauma, free Facebook group. I'll put you in there, and that's where I share there. And Facebook, the regular Facebook, is where I share most of my information. If you're looking to connect with me personally, connect on your journey, ask questions, share something, get involved, learn NLP, shoot an email to greg@gregpihs.com.
And that's Pihs.
That's it. It's ship spelled backwards.
Yeah, there you go. Ship spelled backwards. Yeah, that's it, man. Well, man, we need to keep this going. I'd love to have like a regular check in with you on all things NLP and just being able to again just push this stuff that's
Yeah.
actually working. It's really changing lives.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to give a shout out to our guy Jason Connor. I mean, that's one of the
Mm.
when you talk about a testimonial like that. I mean, what he said and some of our conversations, just here recently and just how it's helped him is, I mean, it's so powerful. Like, and he's had a pretty traumatic life. Like, he's been through a lot. There's a lot of people that,
A lot.
yeah, man, he's absolute beast of a human too. We all have our shortcomings and whatnot, and yeah, preaching to the choir again here, but man, just doing the work, doing this hard work, man. This is the hardest work you'll ever do in your life, honestly. Like, it's not physical, but to your point, it's that psychological, spiritual, just being familiar with being in your fields and being able to
Getting
work
in them
through
fields, man.
being able to work through that is super critical. And man, I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for your friendship, and I'm grateful for what you're doing. So we always got speaking of, I just did my grateful for. What's you grateful for right now? I know you know what the grateful for is,
Man,
and we'll wrap it up.
yeah. Grateful for. My first inclination was to say family, and I am grateful for my family because once upon a time I really felt like I didn't have family. Outside of family, I am grateful for my mindset. I mentioned earlier about my older brother, and he has not been as blessed
Yeah.
to have the journey that I've had, and I am very grateful for, like, every day I think about my journey could be very, very, very different and a lot harder and a lot uglier. And so every single day I'm grateful for the vision and the discernment that I have been given to trek the path to be exactly where I'm at today.
Man, I'm grateful for that too. It's a testament to the human spirit and determination and all the things that you've done. So that's a beautiful way to wrap this up, man. I appreciate you so much, and thank you for sharing. Be sure to check him out, Greg Pihs, Pihs, ship backwards, GP Mind Academy.
Just gpmindgrowth.com.
Okay, gpmindgrowth.com. We'll have all that in the show notes, but please come back, and be sure to check out Greg's podcast too, man. Like, you've been killing it with your pod for a while, and always love to see what you're putting out there, and just being able to tap into your podcast has been a big blessing for me as well. So check him out, man. This guy is a great example of what's going right, and I'm grateful for it all. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much. Bye.